Determine the strength of people's character. The law of compulsive behavior. The concept of fate has been around for thousands of years. Oedipus Rex was written thousands of years ago by Sophocles. It's the story of a man named Oedipus who is destined to kill his father and marry his mother. His own father, Laius, finds out about this prophecy and commands a shepherd to kill his newborn son to prevent it from happening. But the plan fails. Baby Oedipus survives, and he's adopted by a couple who raise him until he reaches adulthood. Oedipus learns about the prophecy, but because he believed that the couple who found him and raised him were his biological parents, he runs away to prevent the prophecy from happening. He unknowingly runs into Laius, and unaware that this was his biological father, kills him in an encounter, just like the prophecy foresaw. He later marries Laius' wife, Jocasta, but unaware that this was his biological mother, has 4 children with her. They later discover the truth. Oedipus had killed his father and married his mother, just like the prophecy predicted. Overcome with shame, Jocasta commits suicide, and Oedipus stabs out his eyes. This is a very extreme example. God doesn't have some tragedy planned for you, but the concept of fate isn't as ridiculous as most people think. We believe we have control over our lives, but we don't. Not really. Reflect on your life and you will realize that most of it has been a repetition of the same patterns. Perhaps your business project failed, or an intimate relationship didn't work out, but it all feels very familiar. You tell yourself you learn from your mistakes, and you feel motivated to alter your methods. On paper, the new plan looks good, but most people find themselves doing things in very similar ways, getting very similar results. At first, you blame other people and your circumstances for your bad luck, but after a long time repeating the same patterns, you take responsibility for everything that's happened to you. You admit you have been self-sabotaging, and yet, you don't know what to do. You probably know someone that is always in love with the wrong person for them, or perhaps someone that is always anxious and depressed, chasing after a person that wants nothing to do with them. If this person is someone you care about, you try to help them, but you eventually realize that you can't, because depression, anxiety, and codependence are all part of their identity. They blame their unrequited situation for their emotional pain, but they are unaware that they were looking for it the whole time. If they weren't in this painful situation with this hurtful person, they would be with one who provided them with the same amount of pain, because unconsciously, that's what they're pursuing. You could maybe help them move on from this person, but it's not worth your time, because it will chase after some other wrong person and end up in the same situation. That's just the reality they are addicted to. The clearest example is the addict who gets out of his addiction only to return to it in a not so distant future, because being an addict is who they are, and sobriety is not. It's easy to see the negative patterns of other people, but hard to identify our own, because no one wants to admit that their life is out of their control. Fate isn't some stupid idea that ancient civilizations came up with. There is some truth to it, but it is most likely not God nor karma ruining our life, but rather our own character traits, the story we tell ourselves about ourselves. The quality of this story is most likely influenced by our genetics and the different experiences we've had, particularly the ones we had as children. Children are very easy to influence. Most people are born with positive character traits, such as generosity and empathy, but these usually weaken as we grow older. We will inevitably come across different negative experiences, and these have a way of rooting out our positive character traits if we don't learn how to deal with them. Most of us never do. As a student of human nature, you have 2 jobs. The first is to understand your own character. What negative patterns are ingrained in you? Reflect on your past experiences, mainly the bad ones, and examine how they have made you the person you are today. Awareness will help you get rid of certain negative patterns, and it will help you become an emotionally stronger person. You will be able to create new habits and form new patterns that will drastically improve your life. The second is to recognize the character traits of others. This skill will help you understand who you're dealing with. If you can tell that the girl you're going out with is emotionally unstable, you may want to look for a different partner, regardless of her physical appearance. If you can tell that the person who is hiring you is obsessed with keeping absolute control of his employees, you may want to look for a different job, regardless of the high paycheck. Remember that people never do something just once. No matter how many people claim to have learned from their mistakes, if you pay close attention, you will notice that most of them keep repeating them. It's as if some parasite was controlling their minds and behavior without them being aware, leading them down a self-destructive path. Examine the people they date. This says a lot about a person. People with a strong desire for power date younger and less intelligent people they can dominate. People with a fear of abandonment date insecure people who worship and cling to them to raise their self-esteem. Let's establish the difference between people of strong character and people of weak character. People of strong character have a high self-esteem. They understand that their work isn't their worth, so they can take criticism without taking it to heart and actually learn from their mistakes. They can befriend their superiors because they are no threat to their ego. They are persistent. They are willing to learn and improve, so they don't give up easily. They are patient and organized, so they can handle chaos and unpredictable situations. People of weak character have a low self-esteem. They don't know how to deal with challenging situations, and they have a hard time learning because they are unable to take criticism as feedback. What you want is to associate yourself with people of strong character. They will bring out the best in you. People of weak character are toxic, and it's in your best interest to avoid them. There are many different toxic types, but I will only be explaining two. The hyperperfectionist. These are deceiving because their greatest weakness can easily be perceived as a strength. They are very hardworking. People are impressed by the amount of hours they work and with their obsession with perfection. The problem with these people is their lack of trust in other people. No one seems smart enough nor dedicated enough, so they have to oversee everything. They say they want perfection, and they probably do, but that's not the reason why they behave the way they do. They do it because they like to control people. It makes them feel powerful. It's likely that these people develop trust issues as children. As adults, they lack the ability to trust anyone, and if they rise to power, they have a need to micromanage because no one seems capable enough to do their job well. They usually exploit their employees. Hyperperfectionists may become successful, but their success doesn't usually last because their demand for perfection is not sustainable. They eventually burn out and their colleagues and employees start to resent them. The personalizer. At first, personalizers seem to be very kind and loving. These qualities attract other people, but everyone eventually realizes that personalizers are only kind to themselves. Be careful never to offend them because they take everything to heart, and if you happen to say something that offends them, they will do everything they can to get back at you. Personalizers had parents who didn't provide them with enough love and attention as children. As adults, they can't seem to get over this. They want other people to always make them feel good about themselves to compensate for the love they didn't receive as children. Sooner or later, their friends and lovers come to realize that the relationship is toxic. It's always all about them. They come to resent them and abandon them. Your character pushes you to repeat certain actions for the entirety of your life, oftentimes without you realizing. You can ignore this or even deny it, but it's wiser to accept it and examine your character as thoroughly as you can. Start by figuring out if you're an introvert or an extrovert, if you're predisposed to feel certain emotions, such as anger or anxiety, what your attachment style is, and what your interests are. Most important, examine your patterns and the mistakes you tend to repeat, and be very honest with yourself. If you examine yourself effectively, you will be able to catch yourself when you find yourself falling into one of your negative patterns. Your character is a maximum security prison. Escaping is hard. Most people never will, but with time and effort, one can understand his character better and make the best of it. You shouldn't push yourself to become someone you're not. You just want to root out your destructive habits and negative patterns, realize your true potential, and follow a purpose that fits your character. Examine your weaknesses and transform them into strengths. The personalizer's main weakness is sensitivity, but this could be transformed into empathy. The hyperperfectionist could transform his desire to control into energy and redirect it into some productive work. Finally, to improve your character, you must expand your horizons. Put yourself in many different stressful situations and you will get used to them and eventually learn to handle them. Take on challenging tasks to build discipline. Associate yourself with people of strong character and learn from them. Set up a daily meditation habit to better analyze your character and to become more patient. Do the work and you will have better control of your life instead of allowing your character to determine your fate. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more.